Welcome into this week's Arkansas football recruiting report, joined by Otis Kirk. I'm Jacob Morris. And Otis, you had a chance to talk to Keyshawn Blackstock, a Michigan State offensive lineman, entered the transfer portal after all that Mel Tucker stuff kind of went down. What did you learn from him and any potential Arkansas connection?
Well, he feels like Arkansas made him a priority recruit. He felt like he's a priority recruit. Obviously, the game didn't go like the coaches, the fans, the players, it didn't go like anyone wanted, but he was still here on an official visit. Got to see Amari Wiggins, who was a teammate of his at Coffeyville before he went to Michigan State. By the way, for anybody that doesn't know, he's 6'5", probably 320, left tackle on offense. Certainly, he said that when he got here Friday, that Coach Pittman and Coach Kennedy sat him down, talked to him, and told him they could use him. And he did tell me, I think I can help. I can see they can use me. He did say that. There's something to that extent. And he didn't say it in a smart aleck way. He just said he knows there's a need for that. I think Travis Williams, in fact, I know T. Will even talked to him and told him big lineman on both sides of the ball, talented like him. He's originally from Georgia. So that's obviously a plus for Sam, because anytime they're from, anytime a kid is from Georgia, then Sam's got an inside, got a chance. But he's got Penn State and Louisville to visit after here. He's been to North Carolina State and I believe Ole Miss, but I don't think he's going to take the Mississippi State visit. He was, but I think Penn State and Louisville have bumped them. I'd be surprised, Jacob, if he ended up here, just to be honest. But and it probably was a waste of my time to try to run him down and talk to him at the airport, before as he left. But hey, it's my job, man. I mean, I feel like trying to do my job, and it's not my. I mean, I assume Sam will be here till he's not here. And I mean, it's not my place to say. I mean, so it's my job to get recruits' reactions, and that's exactly what I did.
Absolutely, and I think it might be the understatement of the year that the Hogs could use him. You said it. He sat there and watched Arkansas quarterbacks go down 5 times and really get nothing done in the trenches. But let's kind of talk about that game and take a macro recruiting lens, because we were talking about that a little bit before we came on. Now it kind of throws everything into question. Even if you take out the, we'll say, uncertainty in terms of Sam Pittman, recruiting all of a sudden gets thrown into question with signing day coming up when a loss like that happens.
Oh, there's no doubt. And the sad part is it was coming off the biggest win of the season, and I asked Sam last night at the press conference. I asked him, what happened at home? Why does this team play like that? You go, on the road, they beat Florida. They played Alabama, LSU, and Ole Miss off their feet. Home, they beat a mediocre Kent State team, but I mean, they beat them, but it wasn't impressive. But then they lost to BYU. They lost to Mississippi State, couldn't score a touchdown, and then they laid an egg yesterday. So I asked Sam, what happened in Fayetteville? I mean, he couldn't put a finger on it. I mean, I thought that was a legit question. I mean, so much. I mean, the guy. It was a mystery to me, because the common sense. When you look at the schedule at the beginning of the year, the home schedule was set up really nice for them. You didn't have LSU, Ole Miss, and Mississippi. You didn't have Alabama, Ole Miss, and Florida. And Texas A&M coming in here. You had an LSU. You had teams that you have a good chance to beat, and yet they went over here. And so I just looked at that, and but yeah, it does. It puts everything. I mean, if Sam keeps his job, which I would say at this point is not a certainty, obviously, but if he does, I think I was telling you, I think they'll keep probably a good number of the high school commitments, Jay. I really do. I'm not saying they'll keep them all. That's not what I'm saying. I said I think they'll keep a decent number of them, and then they would fill in with the portal after that. But if he loses his job, then obviously, everything will be up in there. And with the early signing period now, that's why it's so important, man. get these coaching hires right, because when you have that early signing, used to it was February, the first Wednesday in February, which is still the traditional late signing period now. But used to, when that was the only signing period you had, other than the JUCO kids at midterm, few high school kids at midterm. But now all the high school kids, 90% of them or 80% of them are midterm, and then your early signing period. That's why you've got to make sure when you hire a coach, if the next coach your check hires, he needs to make sure it's a good hire, because that sets your program back with this early signing period. That has changed recruiting. Now one thing you can do, there is one advantage, if there's a silver lining to all that, you can make it up with the portal later on, Jacob. You can go to the portal, later on and get, because you figure if Sam got fired, then some kids here are going to leave. They're going to be some will leave anyway. But I mean, I'm just saying, you mix in the kids that don't sign from the high school class, and the new coach might have one or two kids, depending on where he came from, that he would bring in that he was recruiting there. That's kind of the way it worked. And then you would keep what you could out of this class, and then you'd still have the late signing period for high school, which most of the best ones are taken, but there's always a few that slip through the cracks. And then you might you could fill in with the portal, and that's the silver lining on the portal deal, because you saw for instance, what Dion did at Colorado last year. Lane Kiffin does it every year, and yeah, they got swatted by Alabama, Georgia. But when people were picking Ole Miss in preseason, I said they won't win the West, and they may have the best team, but I said they won't. Well, I don't think they have the best. But I said, but if they did, they were the only team in the SEC West that had to go to both Alabama and Georgia. That's two strikes against you right there. That was why I said that Alabama would have to be, Ole Miss would have to be clearly the Green Bay Packers or something to win the SEC West, because their schedule was brutal. Nobody else in the West had to do that. And they had to go to both of those places. And it's not a coincidence. Those are the other two losses, Jake. Those are the two losses they've got. So, but what I'm saying, Lane uses the portal. Some coaches don't use it. I think the ones that don't use it are missing the boat. And I think Arkansas would probably be is used it pretty wisely with Coach Pittman. And I think they've mixed in, back before all this losing streak. Well, they were losing, but back before it kind of got ugly yesterday, he had told me he'd like to sign around 20 high school kids and then go portal player for portal. In other words, you have 15 players leave, sign 15 from the portal. That was the ideal class. And so I talked to Kobe Bryant on Wednesday. I went down to his signing ceremony, even though it's not official, and he knew that. But they have that signing period December the 20th through the 22nd. Those kids are out for Christmas. Nobody's there. So there was a couple of girls signing with various colleges for different sport or for some sports. So Kobe joined in on that ceremony and got student body, and family there to watch him. And he told me he's going to be a Razorback regardless. So I don't know. We didn't talk about if Pittman was fired, or anything, but of course that was coming off the Florida win. But Kobe and but anyway, it's going to be, everything is really, as far as football recruiting, Kevin's got it made talking basketball right now. But right now, football recruiting, man, football recruiting is it's all up. It's in a tailspin after yesterday. Just the opposite of what you expected, or the opposite of what you probably would have expected after they beat Florida. But then again, like I said, they came home and they have laid an egg every home game except Kent State. And even then, like I said, I know they won that game, but they were very unimpressed. UCF had put up like 700 and something yards on Kent State, the week before, and Arkansas struggled to run football against them, and they did beat them. But the first touchdown was Antonio Greer, a pick six. So it wasn't like it's just been a mystery to me how bad that Arkansas could play in Razorback Stadium. And look, they sure can't blame the fans, because I'm telling you, the tent turnout was good all season. I looked up there yesterday. I'm standing on the field, Jacob, with about 3 minutes left in the game. I'm looking up there, and I'm looking on both sides. There's not a lot. There's several fans, a few thousand still there. I said, they need to catch every fan here that's still here, stayed through the end, and give them a ticket to next Saturday night's game. I mean, give them a free ticket, man. I mean, give them a voucher to get a free ticket. Every fan that stayed for the duration of that. And I'm not. I said that somebody. I'm not criticizing people who left early, folks. People, you buy the ticket, you pay for gas to get here, you can leave when you want. All I'm saying is, I'm just saying, sit through the cold and stay to the end. Those people need a free ticket. I'm not criticizing anybody. I mean, you come and go, stay home, leave when you want. That's not my place to judge anybody for that. But I was just making a comment about some people get offended by everything. I wasn't ripping anybody. I was just making a comment that it's a joke that they should give everybody a ticket, that was stayed to the end. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I wouldn't have. So I mean, I'm sure not. I wouldn't have stayed to the. I mean, obviously it's our job, we have to. But if I'm a fan sitting out in the cold, I'm not staying there till the end. Not in that game.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I was down on the field filming, and I had kind of the same exact impression you did. There was a group of fans, I think 3 or 4 rows up behind me, full kind of section, and they were locked in to the game. I mean, at this point, we're talking 48-10 or whatever it might be. I think that's a great proposition, right? Give the fans that stayed till the end free tickets, because I don't know how many are going to come out for that Florida International game.
Yeah.
It's an interesting point, though, you make about failing to perform at home, because you talk about 70,000 plus are showing up to these games. And I saw somebody tweeted it, and it kind of made your head spin. But the Jacoby Criswell touchdown was the first touchdown by an Arkansas team inside Razorback Stadium since September 16th against BYU, right? That's
11,
crazy.
I had it in my story, Jake. It was the first touchdown since 11 something left in the third quarter against BYU. Yeah. AJ Green had a 7-yard touch. I believe it was a 7-yard touchdown. It's in my story, but I believe it was a 7-yard touchdown by AJ Green in the third quarter against BYU with like 11 plus minutes to go in the third quarter. That was the last touchdown. And the 2 field goals, the prior field goal against Mississippi State and the field goal against Auburn yesterday, were set up by defensive interceptions. Walcott against Mississippi State, and then, of course, Nudie yesterday, McLaughlin yesterday. So, yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, AJ Green had a touchdown in the third quarter of BYU, man. That was it. And that was the last touchdown for yesterday. So, by an offensive player. And just, it's crazy. I mean, well, last touchdown period. And, but yeah, it's just been, that was, to me, was the biggest mystery. Not so much that what Pittman was worried about his contract or security. I mean, that's great, but I mean, coaches are taken care of, even if they're fired. I mean, I doubt Jimbo lost any sleep last night getting $76.5 million from A&M. I doubt I'm sure he slept well, but I was just curious about the home, just the way they played home. And then, people could say, well, the team's not any good, but they went to Alabama, they went to LSU, and they went to Ole Miss, and they played those teams off their feet, Jay. They could have won those games.
Yeah.
I mean, they played those teams off their feet. And then to come home and just play like, and especially when you already had the indication that you did that against Mississippi State, then you're able to regroup and go on the road and beat Florida, a place where Arkansas's never won in the Swamp. And people say Florida isn't any good. Maybe they're not, but they were undefeated at home. They were undefeated at home this year. I mean, they'd beaten Tennessee, which I know Tennessee got smacked around yesterday. So maybe Tennessee's not as good as I thought beforehand. But I'm just saying, Florida was undefeated at home. Arkansas never won there. You got beat 7-3 the week before. You fired your offensive coordinator. You go down there and win. You think this Auburn game, they're going to come. Even if they lost, you expected it to come out fighting. And they were never in that game.
Yeah,
they were never in it. It was over from the first drive to the end. Arkansas was never in it.
It doesn't make logical sense, because I think you sum it up well, right? When you start going game by game through the teams that they've played on the road, and you talk about LSU, arguably the best quarterback in the entire country in Jaden Daniels, lose on a game-winning field goal in the final seconds. You talk about Ole Miss, a team that I know you said it got smacked around by Georgia yesterday, but was in the top 10 with 3 games to go, and they take it down to a 1-possession game. And then you talk about Alabama, who's won the West, is making a push for the college football playoff, and that was a 3-point game as well. And then you flip it over and you look at Mississippi State and Auburn, and it is almost impossible to even I don't even know to
It
logically
makes no
compute it.
sense, and that's why I asked the question. And Sam didn't know that. And look, all we can do is ask questions. And I'm sure Sam didn't know the answer, because if he had, he would have fixed it. But it was worthy questions that I asked, because I mean, and that certainly wasn't a shot at Sam or anything, because I didn't figure he knew, but it's just mystery to me, that because when I sat down before the season, I put a lot more emphasis on stock in the record the schedule. I mean, when I predict the records, and I looked at who they had and then who they played on the road, and I said 8-4. You win your 7 home games. I didn't count A&M as a home game. I did count Little Rock, but I said you win your 7 home games. You're going to lose to Alabama and LSU. I said this was preseason. I said then you got Ole Miss, A&M, and Florida. You try to steal one. And I said, I think of those 3, you will steal one, which they did against Florida. And that's why I said 8-4, because I was with this schedule, I thought they'd win their 7 home games. That was my thinking, Jay. I'm serious. It was just I put so much emphasis, and that's why I said Ole Miss would have trouble, because they had those 2 road games against those 2 powerhouses.
Yeah.
I really put probably more into the schedule than most people do. It didn't do me any good this year, though. I mean, I looked at the things, and I'm thinking, do you want Auburn, Mississippi State, and Missouri coming here? As it turned out, Missouri's pretty dang good. But at the time in preseason, you're looking at that, and you'd rather have Missouri, Auburn, and Mississippi State than have LSU, Ole Miss, and Alabama coming in. So I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's been a weird season. It's not it's not finished. Mercy will have us on Black Friday when this season ends. We will be blessed. But till then, I mean, you've got a job, I've got a job, and that's why I tried to catch that recruit today. I know it was a waste of time. It was. I get that, but that's our job. Well, that's my job, and I try to do it the best I can.
Yeah, absolutely. And wrapping up
Tough
here
right now, though.
Yeah, it is. And
I'm
wrapping
sorry, I
up
didn't mean.
here before we finish, obviously, understandably, Razorback fans are furious and pointing to Sam Pittman, said it's time to go. And you touched on it a little bit, but talk about the impact on recruiting it has. When you talk about the momentum the Razorbacks have had, what would a hypothetical coaching change? Because you're talking about, remember, all the assistants as well, in most cases, going. Talk about the hypothetical impact that coaching change would have like this.
Well, I think you will see a lot of defections, like his decommitting and reevaluating everything. I think it would be. It's not a good situation, especially as I said with the early signing period. Jeff. That's what you worry about, because that early signing period, not all, but most of the best high school kids will sign early. So it's not like you can go get 15 in February, because I don't think there's going to be. There may be 15 SEC caliber players, but to think they would all come to Arkansas is probably naive. No, I think you get you get your best kids in December. I think Arkansas has signed one high school kid in the last 2 years, and that was Shamar Easter in February. And that wasn't, and he is good. That wasn't because he wasn't good. It's because he simply, Dow Loggins had recruited him and left, went to South Carolina. So Shamar wanted to take some visits into South Carolina and make sure he still wanted to be committed to Hawk. That's the only reason he signed late. Otherwise, he would have signed her. But most of your top high school kids are gone. So yeah, it's going to set Arkansas back. But that goes back to what I said though earlier when we first started. That's why Hunter, if he makes a coaching change, he's got to make a great hire, not a good one, but a great hire here, because it's so important now to get your recruiting foundation going. And this class is going to take a hit, but you've got to make sure the next class and the next class and the next class don't take hits, because that's you think about it. This is Sam's 4th year. The first year he came in, it was on a coaching fire with Pip. With Morris. So now those kids are the older. It would have been the older kids, your 4th and 5th year seniors, or either they were in the portal or they're not here, or there's not enough. KJ Jefferson's one, but there's not enough of those kids still here, and that's what happens when you have coaching changes. So it's going to set this class back tremendously if they do. It will be up to the next coach if they fire Sam. It would be up to the next coach to go ahead and try to salvage it through the portal. Keep what he can out of the class. Maybe, as I said, depending on who they hired, bring maybe some kids he was recruiting there, one or two of them over here, and then add from the portal. That's about the only way you can salvage it the best you can, and then start hitting it for next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
All you can do, man.
Yeah, it's all you can do. I think that sums it up pretty well. We'll see the direction that Arkansas football decides to go over the next couple of weeks. But for now, that's going to do it for your Arkansas football recruiting report. For Otis Kirk, I'm Jacob Morris. More Pig Trail Show on the other side of the break. Stay with us.